Hey guys, welcome back. So we have finally made our way to Wolverine Revenge issue 5, where now, after all these years in the story, we get to see where this road ends for Wolverine, now that the son of Colossus is coming after the man who killed his father. So with that said, if you're enjoying these videos, be sure to drop a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and don't forget to hit that bell up top to get all notifications. Alright, so just as a really quick recap, going into Wolverine Revenge issue 5, this story takes place on a post-apocalyptic world, where as a result of Magneto's death and the asteroid M going down, hundreds of millions of people were killed, and with an EMP blast covering the whole planet at the time of Magneto's death, everyone across the world lost power. So that caused a lot of people to do what they had to do, just to survive and protect their loved ones. But at the start of the series, we really just jumped in with Nick Fury putting together a team, so they could go retrieve what seemed to be the last device capable of producing energy on Earth, only for his team to get intercepted by Colossus, Omega Red, and Sabertooth, and some others who at the time were referred to as the New Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. And with how it played out, these guys killed everybody, with the exception of Wolverine, who survived, and I mean really most of the killing was on Deadpool's hands. But this then led to Wolverine going on his revenge tour and hunting each and every one of these guys down one by one. And after killing Colossus, he had basically left Sabertooth alive with a shutdown healing factor so Logan could kill Creed slowly over time. And years later, going into issue 4, this is where we found out that Creed had been working with a number of legacy individuals to help them go after Wolverine, since Creed couldn't really do it himself. So this is when he brought in the Omega clan, who are all clones based off of the genetics of Omega Red, in addition to Nikolai Rasputin, the son of Colossus, who basically has the same powers as his father, with the additional training from his aunt Illyana Rasputin. So now he's here with a soul sword, and he's ready to get the revenge that he's basically been thinking about his whole life. And now the first thing we do going back into this, we're thrown into a flashback, which shows us a memory between young Nikolai and his father. And I really like that we get to see this because something Colossus had said before, and we'll go back into that in just a moment. But in this flashback, him and his son are just watching the sunset, as he tells him this is how it's supposed to be. Field and farm as far as the eye can see. You put your hands in the ground and smell how rich the soil is, and know that anything you plant will grow. And then the harvest, all Nikolai. To feed yourself, to feed others, to provide what's actually necessary. That is life as it is meant to be lived. And this is where the young Nikolai told his dad, not sure Aunt Yana feels that way, and it's like, man, Aunt Yana, that's adorable. And Colossus told him, yes, well, your aunt and I disagree on many things, son, maybe everything, except for you. So next, the young Nikolai, he brings up his father's past. And he's like, I'm not supposed to say anything because she knows you don't like it. But Yana says you used to be a hero. So this is where Papa Piotr tells his son, I was strong, stronger than most. I suspect one day you'll be the same. But I wasn't the hero. I was just a man forced into situations bigger than myself, and forced to do things that I now regret. This life we have now is better than that old one, Nikolai. I'd rather be your father than a hero any day of the week. Now go inside, wash up, and I'll start working on dinner. And when he says this, the kid starts to go inside, and in the background you can see Colossus holding his head like, man, yeah, I done some stuff. But just before his son goes back inside, he turns around and says, hey dad, just so you know, you're my hero. And we all know how things played out after that. But really quickly, I want to point out that I'm glad that we got that flashback, because back when we first saw Colossus in this story, he told Wolverine, Captain America, and the others who had basically came on a mission to steal their power, or better yet their solution to providing power. He told them you believe your cause is right, and therefore your thievery is righteous, that the West is owed it, and we should simply let you take it. And this is something we pointed out at the time, because it's easy to just look at this and say, oh, Wolverine, Captain America, and Bucky Barnes, they're gonna steal this power source and bring it back to the West, and it's gonna save the remaining survivors on the North American continent, because they're the good guys, and the good guys are gonna save us. But the truth is, Colossus, he did what he believed he had to do to save his family, and he wasn't gonna let anybody just walk in and take that away. So yeah, this reminds me a lot of some of the conversations I've had about The Last of Us game, part 1 and 2, because I played them both back to back in like 2022 or 2023, and I enjoyed part 2 more, because the realest thing about any of these stories is the fact that nobody's special. And it's so easy to slip into the trap of falling in love with the main character without realizing some of these people that they're killing are the main character in someone else's story. So yeah, I'm just gonna start that fire and hand it to the comment section. But at this point, coming back to the present day, after Wolverine has just wrecked the Omega clan, he discovers the cameras that are watching him, which lets him know that Sabertooth is behind this. So Wolverine makes his way back to come for him. But what Wolverine doesn't know is that Sabertooth still has company. And when Wolverine gets there, he's brought the neutralizer light that he got from Forge, and he just stands outside like, "Creed, what's it gonna be? Am I coming in?" Okay, no, he didn't sing it. It was more like Brad Pitt and Troy when he was yelling Hector. But Wolverine gets here and he asks Creed, like, "What are we doing? Am I coming in there? You coming out here?" And that's where Creed comes out in, the professor's chair with Nikolai alongside of him. And as soon as Wolverine sees this, he's like, man, it's like looking at a ghost. And he yells at Sabertooth like, "Oh, you bringing kids into this?" And Sabertooth just frames it as a you reap what you sow kind of thing. And that's where Wolverine just calls a spade, because he tells Creed, "I understand now. You're too broken and too beaten to fight your own fights. What a shadow you are, Creed. I've reduced you to nothing. Completely. I gotta tell you, I honestly don't even remember you as anything other than this. So I guess it was always gonna end this way. Me standing over you, and you, my beaten dog." And it's right here, this is where Sabertooth just snaps. And he tells Nikolai to do it now, just like they planned. Because what they have planned is a fastball special, which once again is a really nice callback. I feel like we've been seeing this quite a bit lately. But in this case, with Sabertooth flying at Wolverine, it's basically a death sentence for Sabertooth, because again, his healing factor shut down. So Wolverine quite literally just tears this guy to pieces. And he's like, "Everybody has a plan, Creed," till they don't. And after killing Sabertooth after all these years, Wolverine says, "I thought it would feel different. I thought after all this time that getting my revenge would make me feel better, complete in some way. But I don't feel nothing but the same anger burning in my heart, like a giant wound that won't heal. Maybe you should think about that." Because really he's saying this for Nikolai to hear and hopefully reconsider before this goes down. But Nikolai is just like, "Think about it. It's all I think about. Every single day since you killed my father, who was your friend. But don't lecture me like I'm you, some monster with a sea of bodies left in your wake. I've never killed anyone, but seeing you here, finally standing before me, I think I very much have to try. I have to, or I won't be able to sleep at night." And so it's here where Wolverine's like, "Well, if it matters, I'm sorry about your dad. I do regret it." But Nikolai doesn't care. And it's right there where Wolverine understands that there's no talking this kid out of it. So he asks him, "How you want to do it?" And with the way that Nick responds, you can tell that he came here to kill Wolverine, but he's also prepared to die trying. Because he responds saying, "Does it matter? This probably only ends one way, in violence and pain, and eventually death. Then you'll heal." So right there, Logan's like, "Yeah, I suppose that's not really fair, is it?" So he picks up Forge's neutralizer and he shines it on himself, which at first had me like, man, that's a noble thing to do, because man, it's like he's really out here evening the odds. How honorable. But after doing this, he tells Nick, "There you go. Fair. In memory of your old man." And when he does this, Nick's like, "Come then. Pay for your sins." So Wolverine leaps out right at him, only for this kid to hit him with the okie doke, because he just stabs the soul sword into the ground, opening a huge gaping portal to Limbo. And this just has Wolverine in midair like, "Oh, I should have thought about this jump," because he didn't get enough distance and enough air to clear it, because he'd already left the ground before this portal was even a thing. So he just goes falling right in. So Nick basically tells Wolverine here, "You're gonna pay for your sins in a place where such sins belong, in the hell called Limbo." Which I gotta say, this is a smart move on the kid's behalf, because the soul sword is more powerful in Limbo. But when he goes on to say here, "This sword was a gift from my aunt, who raised me after you killed my father. It was forged here in this terrible place that I hate almost as much as I hate you." And right there, it's like, since this is magic sword, it's most powerful when it's used by her, because it's a physical manifestation of her power. So only she's able to get the most out of it. But we've also seen other people use the soul sword over the years. People like Nightcrawler, Darkoth, who we talked about in the Venom series a while back, and I think Kitty Pryde at one point, though I can't recall off the top of my head. And you also got certain rules where it's like whoever owns the soul sword is the ruler of Limbo, though I'm not sure how much of that applies here, but that's a conversation I want to come back to in a little bit. But during this fight, you just have the soul sword clashing against Wolverine's adamantium claws. So that's where Nick goes for Wolverine's arm. And right here, Logan's just like, "I still got metal bones, boy." And I'm not sure why that's so funny to me, but given the fact that Nick even attempted to do this, it's almost like he tried to take Wolverine's arm off here. So next, Logan goes for the old demon's blood in the eye trick, and this just has Nick's eyes burning. And only for a moment here, it's not like anything permanent, but that moment is all Wolverine needs to gain the upper hand. And it comes to the point where it seems like Wolverine's about to put the kid out of his misery. But before he does, the kid asks him, "How did it come to this, comrade?" And Wolverine responds like he's talking to Colossus. He's just like, I don't know, Petey. It just did. Because keep in mind, there was no formal introduction between these two. So Logan's just calling him Petey. And that's enough to throw Logan off. So the kid can just whack him in the head with the hilt of the soul sword, which turns the tables once again. Because after Nick slashes Wolverine to the ground, Wolverine is just like, go on, do it. It's your right to, and I deserve it. And the kid doesn't even say a word. He just drives the soul sword right through Logan. And he leaves him there, in limbo, with the soul sword sticking out of him. And this is where Logan's narration picks up again. Because he says here, and that's how it always ends. Revenge. Doesn't matter how much you lie to yourself at the start, or how noble you think what you're doing is. Do it long enough, let it consume you, and you will always end up in the same spot. In a hell of your own making. With a little grace, a little mercy, some people might get past it. I hope a clean end will mean that for the kid. But for me, it's just never gonna happen. And this is where Wolverine comes clean. Because throughout this fight, we were led to believe that Wolverine had shut down his healing factor after using Forge's neutralizer. But it's right here, as he gets up, he pulls the soul sword out of himself. And he's like, okay, you got me. I confess. I messed with Forge's neutralizer, so no, I never lost my powers. So yeah, he was fighting with his healing factor intact this whole time. So now that his mouth and his neck are closing back up, he gets up and he's like, hopefully the kid will believe it and move on and heal in a way that I can't and never will. So yeah, this leads us to a couple of things as this wraps up. Because for one, Wolverine has just basically faked his death, so the son of Colossus would believe that he'd actually got his revenge so he can move on and live his life. And the second thing is, with Wolverine believing that his revenge and really the life that he lived, all of it was going to end one way. So instead of Logan trying to avoid it, he's like, you know what, I'm going to do it on my terms. Because he says, revenge led me here, and my nature made sure of it, down a path I was never getting off of. So I guess I got exactly what I deserved. So why not make the best of it? And the next thing we see is Wolverine make his way to the throne down here, and he's like, bad news, pal, you're in my seat. As he throws him the head of the biggest demon who's come after him so far. And this has me thinking like, okay, we've seen other Wolverines go to hell quite a few times, and I'm not really sure how many times this one's been down here, or if he's been to a hell before, but it's like now that he's down here and he has the soul sword, is he technically about to become Limbo's ruler? You guys let me know what you think in the comments. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here, who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below where you can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.